Hebrews, Hebrews, Hebrews. This is Prophets of Awakening. This is our Sabbath class, the 4th of July, 2026. Okay. Main topic for the Sabbath class will be Trump secretly starting or constructing a Gaza military base. Okay, we're gonna go into that, the ramifications of it, shine a light on it. Okay. You can go to our YouTube channel, The Prophets of Awakening, and check out our videos. We have over 1,000 or so videos, coming up on 2,000, that you can look at, examine, get the meat out. These videos will lead you to the truth of the Holy Scriptures. And if you like what you are hearing and receiving it on these videos, I'm asking you to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. It would be greatly appreciated. We have our Cash App at the bottom of the screen for those that want to support this channel or help it move along. Okay, they enjoy the content. Okay, so with that being said, for those that don't know, this is a non-Messianic channel. We deal with the Tanak and the Torah. Tanak being the Old Testament from Genesis to Malachi, so-called Old Testament, and the Torah is the first 5 books of the Old Testament that's given to Moses by our Savior and our Redeemer and our Deliverer, the Lord of Hosts, aka Michael, the Archangel. Okay, this channel was created to aid and assist our Hebrews who are waking up to their true identity and understanding who their Savior and their Redeemer truly is. Shalom and welcome to this channel, and welcome to our Sabbath class. Okay, we're gonna do our normal, which is a moment of silence, uh, Sabbath prayer. We have the Psalms. We're gonna read current events, need to know information. Then we have some dialogue, Orthodox Christianity, a dialogue between Orthodox Christianity and Gnosticism. Okay, I have a 12-part series on that, how both of those came into existence and how they both interact with each other. Okay, and then we'll go into our topic for discussion, which is Trump secretly constructing a Gaza military base over in Gaza, right? Then our scripture reading will be uh, scientists that's finally revealed the Ethiopian Jewish DNA solved. Scientists have finally solved the Ethiopian Jewish DNA mystery. Okay, we're gonna deal with that. Okay, rightly divided. Then we'll pick a scripture, we break that scripture down. Then we'll close out. But right before we close out, I have a warning I wanted to play, and then we'll talk about that. Then we'll close out. Okay. So this moment of silence is for the Lord of hosts and all that he's doing to bring about our prophesied deliverance in these last days. Okay. Oh Lord, we come before thee at this hour on your day that you have given us for rest, praising you and honoring you because of the position both in heaven and upon the earth, the position in which the Creator Yahweh have given unto thee. And through your spirit and your counsel, O Lord, we have awakened. We have awakened to know who we are as a people and who you are as our Savior and our Redeemer. And we're thankful for all that you have done. And we are eagerly searching out your scriptures that we may be at the right place at the right time upon your arrival. And we love you. And we seek you daily, O Lord. There is none else besides thee to redeem us. And we see you in the affairs of the world, and we faithfully await your deliverance. Peace be unto you. Okay? Do the song right quick. Okay, what I'll do, I'll read Psalms 89. Okay? Another one of my so-called profound scriptures. So this is Psalms 89, and it's God's sure promises to David, right? And the reason why it's so profound to me, because David is the Messiah of Israel. So, like I said, the title is God's sure promises to David. You know, in other words, God's sure promises to our Messiah, right? The Messiah of Israel. Okay. I will sing of the mercies of the Lord forever. This is David talking. I will sing of the mercies of the Lord forever. With my mouth will I make known thy faithfulness to all generations. For I have said, mercy shall be built up forever. Thy faithfulness shall thou establish in the very heavens. I have made the covenant with my chosen. I have sworn unto David my servant. Thy seed will I establish forever, and build up thy throne to all generations. Selah. And the heavens shall praise thy wonders, O Lord, thy faithfulness also in the congregation of the saints. Who in the heavens can be compared unto the Lord? Who among the sons of the mighty can be likened unto the Lord? God is greatly to be feared in the assembly of the saints, and to be held in reverence of all them that are about him. O Lord God of hosts, who is a strong Lord likened unto thee, or to the faithfulness round about thee? Thou rulest the ragings of the sea. When the waves thereof arise, thou stillest them. Thou hast broken Rahab in pieces as one that is slain. Thou hast scattered thine enemies with thy strong arm. The heavens are thine, and the earth also is thine. As for the world and the fullness thereof, thou hast founded them. The north and the south, thou hast created them. Tabor and Hermon shall rejoice in thy name. Thou hast a mighty arm, strong is thy hand, high is thy right hand. Justice and judgment are the habitations of thy throne. Mercy and truth shall go before thee, thy face. Blessed is the people that know the joyful sound. They shall walk, O Lord, in the light of thy countenance. In thy name shall they rejoice all the day, and in thy righteousness shall they be exalted. For thou art the glory of their strength, and in thy favor our horn shall be exalted. For the Lord is our defense, and the Holy One of Israel is our King. Then thou spakest in a vision to the Holy One, and said, I have laid up help upon one that is mighty. I have exalted one chosen out of the people. I have found David, my servant. With my holy oil have I anointed him, with whom my hand shall be established. My arm also shall strengthen him. The enemy shall not exact upon him, nor the sons of wickedness afflict him. And I will beat down his foes before his face, plague them that hate him. But my faithfulness and my mercy shall be with him, and in my name shall his horn be exalted. I will set his hand also in the sea, and his right hand in the rivers. Okay? He shall cry unto me, thou art my Father, my God, the rock of my salvation. Also, I will make him my firstborn, higher than the kings of the earth. My mercy will I keep for him forevermore, and my covenant shall stand fast with him. His seed also will I make to endure forever, and his throne as the days of heaven. If his children forsake my law and walk not in my judgment, if they break my statutes and keep not my commandments, then will I visit their transgressions with a rod, and their iniquity with stripes. Nevertheless, my loving kindness will I not utterly take from him, nor suffer my faithfulness to fail. My covenant will I not break, nor alter the thing that is gone out of my lips. Once have I sworn by my holiness that I will not lie unto David. His seed shall endure forever, and is strong as the sun before me. It shall be established forever as the moon, and as the faithful witness in heaven. Selah. but thou hast cast off and abhorred. Thou hast been wroth with thine anointed. Thou hast made void the covenant of thy servant. Thou hast profaned his crown by casting it to the ground. Thou hast broken down all his hedges, and thou hast brought his strongholds to ruins. All that pass by the way spoil him. He is a reproach to his neighbors. Thou hast set up the right hand of the adversaries. Thou hast made his enemies to rejoice. Thou hast also turned the edge of his sword, and hast not made him to stand in battle. Thou hast made his glory to cease, and hast cast his throne down to the ground. The days of his youth hast thou shortened. Thou hast covered him with shame. Selah, how long, Lord, wilt thou hide thyself forever? Shall thy wrath burn like fire? Remember how short my time is. Wherefore hast thou made all men in vain? What man is he that liveth and shall not see death? Shall he deliver his soul from the hands of the grave? Lord, where are thy former loving kindness, which thou swore unto David in thy truth? Remember, Lord, the reproach of thy servants, how I do bear in my bosom the reproach of all the mighty people, wherewith thine enemies have reproached, O Lord, wherewith they have reproached the footsteps of thine anointed. Blessed be the Lord forevermore. Amen and amen. So that was Psalms 89. And it's just, like I said, the song speaks for itself. If you uh, have learned how to think like a Hebrew, right, to cast off all the lies, Psalms 89 will plainly tell you who the Lord of hosts is. I mean, who David is, and what his role is, and what his affiliation with the Lord of hosts is. Okay, you got any comments or questions on that?
Shalom, shalom, brother Leonard.
Okay,
Right, yes, sir. Just to reiterate, something you were saying in verse 20, sir.
okay.
Yes, sir. Where it says, "I have found David my servant with my holy oil, anointed
Right,
him." Right, yes, sir. And I remember, I think that's First Samuel 16, when the Lord of hosts sent Samuel to do that. Right, sent him to Jesse's house to anoint his head with oil, and that lets us know that David is the Messiah, you know, and not JC.
right. So this whole psalm, when the Lord of hosts first revealed it to me, it was devastating because it totally contradicts everything they didn't set up in the New Testament. Because for example, right here it says, let me get that. It's at the end of the song. He says, see, gotta do it. Okay, yeah, it says, 44. Thou hast made his glory to cease and has cast his throne down to the ground. So David's throne been cast down to the ground, like I was saying before. What people don't seem to understand when you start talking about glory and thrones and all that, you got to understand what throne is being talked about. So it's telling you right here that whatever these people done, they cast David's throne down to the ground. So you say, what are you talking about? Well, damn, you cast it to the ground. So now all of a sudden you bring this dude JC, and JC on the throne of David. But David's throne been cast down to the ground. Let you tell it. So it ain't making no sense to me. So anyway, it says, uh, uh, 48. What man is he that liveth and shall not see death? Shall he deliver his soul from the hands of the grave? Ain't that what JC did?
Right.
Come on. It's contradiction. Everything in here contradicts what the Lord of Hosts covenant he got with David. He got a covenant with David. And when you read the Psalm for what it's telling you, what it's revealing to you, it totally contradicts what the New Testament is talking about. Okay. Got anything else?
No, sir. Shalom.
Okay. So with that being said, we're gonna deal with these current events. Okay. Check it out. Here we go.
The pressure.
So they, we was talking about the Hawks and all that. They'd already ratcheted it up, but they really finna go in with it.
Are now forecasting for Typhoon Bobby.
Check
the
it
year
out.
was 1979. Yesterday, Bobby was a 60-mile-per-hour tropical storm. By this weekend, it is forecast to explode into a super typhoon aimed straight at the Mariana Islands, American soil, home to nearly 200,000 people. A few models are printing a pressure that would rival the strongest tropical cyclone ever measured. I will show you what is real, what is worst case, and why no aircraft will measure the truth in time. Yesterday morning, a tropical storm named Bobby was moving across the open Western Pacific with maximum sustained winds of about 60 miles per hour.
So when you listen to this and understand what Hawks is, you can see how they intensified the storm. Okay, they got the ability to do that. Okay, check it out.
Paper at that moment, it was not remarkable. A broad, still organizing system far out over warm water, hundreds of miles from the nearest land. But it had already climbed from around 45 miles per hour to 60 in the span of a single morning, and nearly every forecast model and every official warning center agreed on what was coming next. This is the story of a storm that was almost nothing yesterday, and is forecast to become, within days, one of the most powerful tropical cyclones on Earth, aimed directly at American soil. Let me give you its position. At 6 o'clock in the morning, Coordinated Universal Time yesterday, the Joint Typhoon Warning Center placed the center of Bobby roughly 1,545 kilometers, about 960 miles, east of Andersen Air Force Base on Guam. The system was moving west-northwest at about 24 kilometers per hour, or 15 miles per hour, carrying 1-minute maximum sustained winds near 60 miles per hour. That is a tropical storm, not...
Okay.
What matters is not where those numbers sit today, but the slope they are on. The storm was strengthening even as forecasters were writing the words to describe it. Bobby carries the designation 9W, the 9th tropical cyclone the Western Pacific has spun up this year that warranted a number. Names in this basin get assigned early, long before a storm becomes dangerous, and most of them never make headlines. The reason this one already has the attention of every warning center from Guam to Tokyo is not its present strength. It is the environment it is about to move into, and the direction it is pointed. The direction is the part that turns a weather story into a human one. The most likely track carries Bobby west-northwest, straight toward a small cluster of islands in the middle of the Pacific, islands that happen to be United States territory, home to nearly 200,000 American citizens. Those islands took a super typhoon just 3 months ago, and the forecast that every major agency is now publishing says the storm bearing down on them this weekend could be even stronger. That is where we have to start, because everything about this story is a race between how fast Bobby strengthens and how fast the people in its path can get ready. Right now, this morning, the storm is still out over open water, still gathering itself. By tomorrow afternoon, it will be a different animal, and by Sunday, it is forecast to arrive. Let me walk you through exactly what the forecast says, why the numbers are so alarming, and why one particular figure has forecasters using a phrase they almost never say out loud. The official forecast is where this stops being a routine tropical storm and becomes the biggest weather story on the planet. The Joint Typhoon Warning Center expects Bobby to strengthen slowly for the first stretch, and then enter a prolonged window of what meteorologists call rapid intensification, the phase where the storm's winds climb explosively over a short span of time. Their forecast brings Bobby to a peak as a super typhoon, with 1-minute sustained winds near 250 kilometers per hour, or 155 miles per hour, around Sunday, July 5th. The projected track carries the center just south of the island of Tinian late Sunday night into Monday morning local time. Let me put that number in context, because 155 miles per hour is not an ordinary typhoon. In the Western Pacific, a storm earns the label super typhoon when its 1-minute sustained winds reach at least 150 miles per hour, roughly the boundary between a high-end Category 4 and a Category 5 hurricane on the scale most Americans know. Bobby's forecast clears that bar, and the agency went further than the raw numbers. In its own discussion, the Joint Typhoon Warning Center noted the possibility that Bobby could become the strongest July typhoon ever to directly pass through the Mariana Islands since the beginning of reliable records. Those extreme pressure runs are outlier solutions at long range, individual model forecasts reaching about a week into the future, which is the range where any single model is least reliable. Not off, because it is not random. It requires a specific set of conditions to all line up at once, and Bobby is about to move into the one part of the ocean where they do. A tropical cyclone is a heat engine. It runs on warm ocean water, converting the heat of the sea surface into the wind and rain of the storm. To intensify explosively, it needs several things stacked together. Very warm water at the surface, generally between 29 and 31 degrees Celsius, a thick layer of that warm water extending well below the surface, so the storm's own churning does not drag up cold water and choke itself.
So right here is where this is where the harps come in at, because they have the ability to heat this water up by projecting a laser beam up into the ionosphere, then redirecting it down to precise location wherever they want to put it at. In this case, right out in front of the storm, they can superheat the water in front of it, and that's why you see how the guy said how fast it increases its formation and how fast the speed goes up, because they have the ability from over years and years of research and understand how that works. They can do that. Okay.
Low wind shear, meaning the winds high above the storm are not blowing the top off of it. Plenty of moisture in the middle levels of the atmosphere, and strong outflow at the top, venting the rising air like a chimney. When all of those align, a storm can strengthen faster than almost anything else in nature.
Right.
The stretch of ocean ahead of Bobby, the Philippine Sea, supplies every one of those ingredients at the same time.
And nobody can see that, so they thinking this manifesting is forming itself on its own, but they are manipulating it. But you know, and the way they're manipulating it, it's not seen by the naked eye, but they actually manipulating it. Okay, check it out.
No.
If you're worried about someone breaking into your car and still being able to...
Okay.
Flirting pressures are reaching toward. The environment in front of Bobby is not just favorable for a strong storm, it is close to optimal for the strongest kind. That is why the forecast is what it is, and it is also why the honest answer to how strong it will get is harder to give than you might think. Care is the part of this story that surprises most people. For all the precision in those forecasts, the 155 miles per hour, the 925 hectopascals, no one is actually flying into Bobby to measure it. In the Atlantic Basin, when a hurricane threatens the United States mainland, specially equipped aircraft fly directly into the storm and drop instruments through the eye to measure the pressure and winds by hand. In the Western Pacific, that routine reconnaissance does not exist. There are no hurricane hunters out there. Every intensity estimate for Bobby, every number I have given you, comes from analyzing satellite images from far above, using a technique that infers a storm's strength from the pattern and temperature of its clouds. The immediate future is the Marianas this weekend. If the forecast holds, Bobby reaches super typhoon strength and passes through or just south of the island chain late Sunday into Monday, local time. That is the moment of maximum danger for nearly 200,000 Americans, and it is now less than 2 full days away. Everything before then is preparation time, and it is running out. But Bobby's story does not end at the Marianas. If the storm survives its island passage intact and moves on into the open Philippine Sea, it moves over more of that same warm water, and it could keep strengthening. That is, in fact, exactly where those extreme model runs, the ones flirting with the all-time pressure record, place the storm's lowest pressure. In the days after the Marianas, out in the open water between the Philippines, Taiwan, and Japan, which means the Marianas may not be the last chapter. Depending on the position of a steering ridge of high pressure and the timing of an approaching weather front, Bobby could become a longer-range threat to Luzon in the northern Philippines, to Taiwan, and to southern Japan in the following week.
So notice it's a threat to Taiwan. Okay, what we're gonna do is we're gonna keep an eye on this. Okay, got any feedback on that?
And shalom, brother Leonard, like excuse me, like you had said last night, we were talking about how it hit the Philippines, like those earthquakes and stuff. So it seemed like they hit in strategic places they want to take over.
Right. You see what's going on in Venezuela? They pretty much annihilated that. It's like it's worse than Gaza. Okay. Okay, something. Okay, but nobody, the average person, they looking at it and taking it for what they're giving them, when not understanding where we at in the world and the technology that is available in the world. These people have first-hand access to. Okay, so let's check this out.
I'll say a few words just to start, and I'll focus on where we are.
So they're getting ready to mobilize troops in the Middle East, U.S. Check it out.
And the question of whether it's a watershed moment is another big question, and I don't want to deal with both of them at once, but just on the where we are question, I think the United States and Israel started this war thinking that they were going to win a stunning victory. They did not, and instead we've actually suffered a stunning defeat. Not many people in the mainstream media in the West will admit that, which is hardly surprising, but it is true. And if you look at the negotiations that are taking place, it's quite clear that the United States has conceded on almost every demand that the Iranians have made. It's really quite remarkable. And what J.D. Vance is now trying to do is just operationalize this set of demands that we have agreed to. And President Trump, of course, can barely bring himself to admit that we have lost. And therefore, what he's doing is going to great lengths to claim that we have won. And if the Iranians don't recognize that, he's going to bomb them again, and so forth and so on. But this is all nonsense. We have no military option. If we had a military option, we would have used it a long time ago. The fact is that the last thing the United States wants to do is restart the bombing campaign. We just want to be done with this war. We accept the fact that we have lost. And I would just add, before I turn it over to Giannis, that I think the principal driving force here is not simply that we don't have a military option. It's also the fact that we're facing an economic catastrophe. And President Trump has actually said that. He has used those words, economic catastrophe. He has said that he does not want to be Herbert Hoover, implying very clearly that he does not want to be responsible for starting the second Great Depression. And the fact that these economic factors are so powerful, coupled with the fact that we have no military option, is what puts us in this position where we have no choice but to surrender. And if you look at what's going on, this is what you see happening, despite the fact that it's not the conventional wisdom at this point in time in the Western media.
How are you finding the time to send over all these meeting notes?
I got a secret.
David Barnea, who's the head of Mossad, and they convince him that we have the magic formula, that if we launch a shock and awe campaign and we decapitate the regime, this will lead to regime change, the new regime will surrender, and the war will be won very quickly. And Trump just was enamored with that idea. And he had great faith in the Israelis, and he went along. That's the alternative explanation. But to come back at it from the other side, from where you were going, what's very surprising is that almost all of his aides, according to the New York Times story, outlining the position of all the principal actors inside the U.S. government on this issue, were opposed to the operation. They thought it was a bad idea. And of course, we know from the historical record that there's no case out there where air power alone caused regime change. And his aides, most of his aides anyway, the head of the CIA, Secretary of State, and the Vice President understood this and argued against the operation. But Trump went along anyway, which supports your basic point that maybe the Israelis had secret leverage. Who knows for sure?
Sure. John, the reason why I'm tempted to reject this scenario, the scenario that he was caught up in his own successes in Venezuela, however despicable he might be as a human being, and however inarticulate he may be, he's smart enough strategically to know that you don't promise the world regime change by bombing Iran.
Let me reinforce your argument by coming at it from a very different angle. And let me just talk a little bit about the...
So contrary to what everybody is saying, the military, the higher ups, about them bringing in military troops, he's actually going against it. So it's looking like they're going to mobilize some 1 million U.S. troops to do this. And everybody is saying that it's going to be the end of the U.S. as we know it. So we're going to keep our eyes on that. We got any feedback on it?
Mobilize 1 million U.S. troops, rather than to go to Iran.
Right, to subdue them.
Mm-hmm.
Totally annihilate them. And the reason why I think it's this like what you call it overkill is because of the situation. You know what I'm saying? As far as what opening the Strait of Hormuz means to us and what it means by it being closed, and because it's so detrimental to what's gonna befall the United States if it don't open. They going in with an overkill of troops, and then they're not looking at actually the ramifications of it if they get bogged down.
Okay.
And all the analysts and military heads looking at the situation, and they're seeing that it's not plausible. But evidently he's listening to the wrong people, doing like Rehoboam did with when they asked him about taking the pressure off of the Israelites, and he ended up splitting up the nation of Israel between him and Jeroboam. So he's getting his he got the wrong people in his ear, I'm thinking, which is these Edomites.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Sure.
And their objective is to bring America down. So they give them the wrong advice for us, but the right advice for what they're trying to do. Okay. So here we go, right here. I'm gonna deal with this. Okay. Here we go.
Let's get into it, because I've been sitting on this one for a couple of days, and I don't think people are connecting the dots the way they should be. Everybody wants to talk about whether Israel is going to hit Iran again. That's the wrong question. The right question, the one nobody in Jerusalem wants to say out loud on camera, is whether Israel still has the time, and I mean the actual physical time, the industrial time, to keep doing what it's been doing. And I'll tell you right now, the clock that matters isn't the one ticking in Thrawn. It's the one ticking in Washington. Here's what set me off. There's reporting, and I trust this reporting because it lines up with everything I'm hearing through my own channel.
So listening to this right here, you can see, based off the previous conversation, that Israel is in a pickle. And because they in a pickle, the pressure being put on because they controlling the United States. Now they got the U.S. making irrational decisions because of their situation. Okay.
That senior U.S. officials got genuinely irritated. That's the word being used. Irritated with Israel for continuing to push for a resumption of strikes on Iran. Not because Washington suddenly grew a conscience about the war, because every time Israel leans on the White House to go again, somebody in the Pentagon has to look at a spreadsheet, and that spreadsheet is not pretty. I'm going to walk you through exactly what's on that spreadsheet in a minute, because once you see the numbers, you understand why this irritation is real and why it's not going away, and why it actually might be the single most important factor in whether this war restarts or whether it stays frozen in this uneasy truce we're all watching right now. Let me back up for a second, because I want you to understand exactly how we got to this point. And I promise this isn't going to be a history lecture. It's going to be fast, because you need the context, or none of what I say later is going to land the way it should. This war effectively restarted at the end of February, when Israel and the United States hit Iranian military and government targets and took out its supreme leader in the process. Iran hit back hard. Missiles, drones, hit the strait, hit oil infrastructure, hit U.S. aligned states in the Gulf. And for about 5 weeks, this thing burned at an intensity most of us haven't seen in that region in decades. Then in early April, Pakistan brokers a pause. 2 weeks, extended again. And by mid-June, you've got the presidents of both countries actually putting a pen to paper on a memorandum. That's the surface story. That's what you read in the headlines. But underneath that surface story, there's a second story. And it's the one I actually want to talk to you about today. Because here's what the headlines don't tell you. Israel's own defense minister, a few weeks after that April ceasefire, told people plainly that the moment Washington gives the green light, Israel is ready to, and I'm using his own phrase here, bomb Iran back to the Stone Ages. That's not a fringe voice. That's the sitting defense minister. And on the other side of the Israeli political map, you've got the opposition leader calling the ceasefire one of the greatest political disasters in the country's history. So you've already got a fractured political establishment, half of it convinced the war ended too early, convinced Iran walked away without being properly finished, and polling out of Israel backs that up. A majority telling pollsters they think ending the war when it ended ran against their own security interests. Jerusalem write checks that the Pentagon supply chain can't cash. And this isn't just talk either, because we've actually seen it exercised in real time. There was a night not that long ago where Israeli jets were already in the air, already inbound toward targets in Iran in retaliation for a strike. And reporting at the time was that Trump personally pressured Netanyahu to call the mission back. Israel mostly complied. The retaliation got scaled down to something much smaller than what was originally planned. That's not a president issuing a strongly worded statement after the fact. That's a president reaching into an active operational decision and shrinking it in real time. If anyone telling you this is a simple binary war or peace hasn't been paying attention to how many tracks are actually running simultaneously here. And third, the nuclear file itself, which is somehow simultaneously the most talked about and the least understood piece of this entire situation. The IAEA cannot verify Iran's enrichment status right now. Not because Iran has kicked out every inspector and slammed the door. It's messier than that. It's about Iran refusing normal inspection protocols at facilities that got struck during the war, insisting on codified rules for how internationally protected sites get treated once they've been bombed, essentially demanding the agency condemn the strikes before it will resume normal verification. So you've got international observers who genuinely do not know cannot confirm whether Iran is quietly reconstituting a weapons-capable stockpile or whether it's sitting exactly where it was left after the strikes. Analysts have started calling this nuclear hedging, developing the technical infrastructure to assemble something on short notice while stopping just short of the line that would force everyone's hand. That ambiguity is not an accident. Strategic ambiguity on a nuclear program is one of the oldest plays in the book, and Iran is running it beautifully right now, whether you want to give them credit for that or not. And layer onto that the disagreement inside Iran's own government, because even they aren't unified on this. There's reporting of daylight between the country's supreme leader and its elected president over how far to bend on the terms of that June memorandum.
So if you've been paying attention and listening to this, you can see that, like he's saying, that Israel is running out of time with the things that Iran is doing and the pressure they're putting on them. They're running out of time, so it's like a wounded animal, that's been cornered. So you should be expecting some horrific stuff in the next few weeks or so. Okay, you got anything on that?
Shalom, and brother Lena, I can see that because the times when they say stuff like that, like I'm gonna bomb you back to the Stone Ages.
Right.
They did that to like Gaza, Lebanon, and where Gaddafi's from. I know they did that to that country too. So
exactly, they're doing it right now in Lebanon.
Right. Sure.
In Gaza. Right. Yeah. So so like I said, that's another situation we need to keep an eye on, because these people right here in their position where they at, they posing as God's people and they're not. So that in itself gonna tell you right there how chaotic they are. And right now they being backed into a corner, and everything that they've been plotting and scheming is being threatened. So we're gonna be seeing some chaotic stuff here real soon. Okay. So with that being said, like I said, I got I think it's 12 videos, non-Messianic conversations. They on Prophets of Awakening page. You can check those videos out, and what it is I go in depth in how the Christianity how it came about. It has nothing to do with the Creator. It had to do with the powers that be and Israel's enemies. They created Christianity and brought it about. Specifically these Edomites and Constantine. But like I said before, when you understand what synchronization is, we're gonna play this video and then I'll kind of walk you through it. But it's as these Greek people came onto the world scene, everywhere country they encountered, every religion they encountered, they fused it together. And so, like I said, they became Buddhism, and then when they was in Egypt, the information they got in Egypt, all that is how you get Christianity. It's in like a pot of gumbo mixed all up with all these different religions, and that's how you get Christianity. Okay, we're gonna look at it. Check it out. Like I say, I go a lot more in depth in this.
First thing I'm going to do is
on my page.
Explain to you what most Christians believe about their religion. This is called the Orthodox or the canonical. Okay, so this is what you're taught officially by the church. Christianity has many different factions, but they all believe in a certain interpretation of the Bible. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the apocryphal. Apocryphal just means hidden or secret or esoteric, just a secret knowledge that is kept within these secret societies. So the Orthodox canonical comes from.
So like I said, the ecclesiastic and all that had nothing to do with Israel and how Israel worked. That's how those folks work. Okay.
a reading of the Bible. And the Bible, at its core, is a story of the covenant between God and humans. Okay, covenant. Covenant means contract or understanding. So throughout the Bible, there are a series of covenants. The first covenant is between
God and Israel, not humans. God and Israel. That's important.
Between Adam and God. So you may have heard of the story of the Garden of Eden. God creates the universe, then creates the Garden of Eden, where he puts Adam and Eve. And God says to Adam and Eve, this is paradise. You don't have to work. Just enjoy life. The food is free. The food is plentiful. Every day you'll be happy and free of want. You will live forever. But there's only one thing that you must not do. And only one thing. Whatever you do not eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Just don't do that and you'll be okay. So of course, what do Adam and Eve do? They eat the stupid fruit. So then what God does is he banishes Adam and Eve from the Garden of Eden, and now they're forced to work, to grow food, to feed themselves. And this leads
So we're going somewhere with this.
To society, okay, development of society. God looks down from the heavens and sees that humans now are going to war. They are fighting their private property. And God says, I don't want this crap. This is not why I created humans. Okay, so he's like, you know what, I'm going to destroy everyone and start over. But then he sees a human that he likes named Noah. And this leads to God saying to Noah, build a ship, build an ark, and save yourself, because I will flood the universe. I will destroy the world. So God destroys the world, and Noah lives. And then God says to Noah, you know what? That's kind of silly. I should have destroyed the universe. I promise never ever destroy the world again. Okay? That is his covenant with Noah. But God sees that humans are still wicked and evil. And he says, you know what? I need to find a man who is good. And I need him to grow a nation that can be the light of the world, that will be the best example of what it means to be a good person. So he finds a man named Abraham. And Abraham, of course, is the father of a nation called Israel. And so this is the third covenant. God says to Abraham, you and your children, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren are now loyal to me. I see you as the chosen people, and I give you the promised land. And that's what Israel is, a promised land. Over time, what happens is that Abraham and his people, they go off to Egypt. And in Egypt.
So right now, he's giving you a rough draft of the Tanak, the Old Testament. Okay, we're gonna see how this gonna change. Remember, the Yahweh changed not, but all of a sudden, you know, he got to run out. He's gonna run out of time, and without the information in the Old Testament, we'll check it out.
Egypt, they become slaves to the Pharaoh of Egypt. And then God is like, you know what? I should check up on the Israelites and see how they're doing. He looks down and he says, oops, they're now slaves to the Pharaoh. So I need now to fix this. So he appoints a man named Moses to free the Israelites from Egypt and take them back to the promised land. When Moses does this, God says, now what you must do is give the Israelites my law, the 10 Commandments, the law, because otherwise I can't trust you guys to behave. So now this is the fourth covenant. So now the Israelites are back in the promised land, but again, and even though there's laws, they still become wicked and they start to worship false gods. So God punishes them, and God is now looking for a good leader of the Israelites. And finally he finds a person named David, who becomes king of the Israelites. And God says to David, you are the person I've been looking for all of eternity. You are the
I just read that in Psalms 89.
The best example of what it means to be a faithful follower of me, Yahweh. And so this is something called the Davidic covenant. The Davidic covenant states that God will always favor Israel as the chosen nation, and the house of David will rule Israel forever. So guys,
Israel and David is the Messiah right here in the Tanakh.
Quick question here. Who wrote the Bible? Probably this guy, okay? Right? If you had to guess who wrote the Bible, probably not Moses, probably not Abraham, probably not Noah, probably not Adam, probably this guy, okay? Because he's saying that all these five, I am the best. I'm the person that God loves the most. My family will rule the world because that is God's will. Now, of course, that's how it happens. Eventually, David has a son named Solomon, and these two are considered the two best rulers of Israel. And this is what we call the Davidic kingdom, okay? The Davidic kingdom, the golden age of Israel. But after Solomon, the Israelites turned wicked again, and then God has to punish them and scatter Israel across the world. And so the last covenant is the arrival of Jesus. What Jesus does is that, first of all,
now we're in the New Testament. See, he just stopped. We stopped with David and Solomon, and this is when Israel fled into Africa. That's most I discontinued our heritage. Now this is the New Testament. This the esoteric and all this other stuff that they added to the story that has nothing to do with us. There's so many of us, our people that's waking up or think they waking up, and they steady incorporating this guy, and he has nothing to do with us.
He reasserts the law of Moses and say to the Israelites,
You ain't got to reassert the law. Moses already asserted it. That's a problem right there.
Like people remember Moses and his law, because that's what God wants. And then he sacrificed himself in order to free the Israelites of the original sin, right? Because God's pissed off at people because people ate the fruit. That's the original sin. That's the first crime of disobedience against God. So by killing himself, Jesus frees humanity of the original sin. He redeems humanity. Now, the last thing that Jesus does is he creates a new covenant between humanity and God. From now on, because Jesus has freed everyone from the original sin, everyone can now be with God. You don't have to be Israelite. You don't have to follow the Mosaic law. You don't even have to come from the family of David. Anyone and everyone can now love God, and God will love that person back, okay? And this, of course, starts Christianity.
That's right.
All right, so this, guys, is called Judaism, what the Jews believe. And this is all 6 is what Christians believe, Christianity. Right? The first 5 covenants are what Jews believe to be true. But they do believe that eventually someone will return to restore the kingdom of David, but not Jesus, not Jesus. The Christians believe that Jesus is the final prophet, right? In fact, Jesus is God himself. That's why it's called Christianity, because they believe in Jesus Christ. So this is the entire history of Judaism and Christianity, what they believe, officially. So now, as you can understand, if you are a true Christian, or you're a true Jew, there are actually lots of issues with this understanding. Exactly. First issue is, why did God have to kick us out of the Garden of Eden? I mean, was eating of fruit so bad as to banish us from paradise? Like, what was wrong with eating that fruit? That's a great mystery in the religion. Why did the original sin happen? And why was God so angry? Lots of sex. They have lots and lots of children. And these children now are like demigods. So what do? Well, they enslave humanity. But then what do? Well, they start fighting amongst themselves. Okay? So that's basically what happened. So God had to destroy the Nephilim because they are not natural. Angels and humans are not supposed to have sex with each other. And this creates a new power called the Nephilim. The problem, though, is the Nephilim are divine, and therefore they cannot be killed. So you can get rid of their mortal bodies, but now they become demons who live underground and are in the shadows. And guess what, guys? They're still here today. So these two societies, they believe the Nephilim are real. And they still control the world. The richest people in the world are actually Nephilim, okay? Because they've been around for thousands of years, and therefore they're able to control the development of humanity. Okay, so they're called the Nephilim. So that's easy to understand. But another question then is, wait a minute, why did Adam eat that fruit, and why did Jesus have to kill himself? Well, now it gets really complicated. Okay, so now I need to explain to you what the secret societies believe. Okay, remember they believe that mind leads
secret society. All of a sudden, we done left the Tanak. We done left heaven. And all that can tell. Now we think now we're dealing with what the secret society thinks.
To matter. What does that mean? Let me explain what this means. Mind leads to matter. In the beginning, the true God is called the monad, okay, the one. So just think of this as the core of the universe, the sun, the divine sun. The monad is so powerful that when he breathes, he vibrates divine energy. And over millions of years, this divine energy creates new life forms. So the first life form are called the dyads. Dyads are just pairs, usually male, female, that are children of the monad. And they're able by themselves to create new universes as well. So the dyads start to emanate, okay? So the entire universe is vibration. It's vibrational energy. It's the breathing of these cosmic beings. And over time, over millions of years, these vibrations become atoms, which then leads to matter. Okay, that's what they mean by mind leads to matter. To demand that a people be loyal to that person, a monster. What kind of God would enforce his will on a people, a monster? What kind of God would say to someone, you're the only person I like, everyone else I hate? A monster would do that. So, in other words, the true secret that these secret societies are trying to keep is the God we worship today is the false God. And we are actually in a prison created by this false God. And that's who Jesus was. Jesus was a cosmic being sent by the monad to tell us the truth about the world. And that's why he died, because the Roman Empire could not allow people to see the truth. If I told you the truth, you would know it right away. You would wake up. Therefore, the truth tellers must be killed. So that's what the secret societies believe. They believe that the monad exists, and the mind of the monad is what creates the universe. And Jesus was sent to remind us that even though we're in a prison, there's still the monad in you. There's a spark in you, a divine light in you that you can. The secret version that is only taught in secret societies. The other thing about secret societies that's really important is they believe that most of us cannot accept the truth. If I told you this, you think I'm crazy and report me to the police. Therefore, they can only wait for people to wake up by themselves and approach them. And if you approach them, then they will test you, and then they will reveal the secret of the universe to you. Okay, and that's what.
Okay, what you think?
Well, shalom, brother Leonard. I think he's showing the contradictions.
Exactly.
Yeah, between
That's all like
Tanak
the
and
whole
the
thing
Testament.
on, don't it?
Right. Yes, sir. Especially how he's breaking it down, how the stories just switch like that. If you go follow him.
Exactly. And there's something,
Right.
and you know, like I said, the average person wouldn't even catch that. But as a talk, you can see the difference. When he was talking about giving you the history of Abraham, Adam, Noah, Abraham, Moses, and David, then all of a sudden he flipped to this shit. They ain't got nothing what the secret society thing. And Ben Franklin and John D and the Greeks and the Romans. He left heaven. He left with the angels and all that. And now he over here we talking about the Greeks and the Romans and Jesus, because that's what he is. He's tied to the Greeks and the Romans. There ain't no Hebrew name.
Right.
You see that?
Mm-hmm.
And so, like I said before, that's just I saw that and I chopped it up for a minute. But if you want to really get into that, you can. I got 12-part series on that. It's non-Messianic conversations. It's like 12 different conversations about how we got hoodwinked and how Christianity and all that came into existence. Okay. So with that being said, that brings us to our topic for discussion. And I said how it's about how which is devastating. I kind of talked about this last night. How all of a sudden, pretty 80 or 90% of the world have turned against these people over there in the Middle East, but the United States is merging their military with them. And they're not trying to hide it. It's right out in the open, but because of the average American has been duped and brainwashed under spell, they don't see the severity of it. But let's play it right quick. And then we'll talk about it. Check it out. Okay.
Girls, I'm Mabel, and today while everyone is reporting.
Okay.
Hey everyone, welcome back to News Girls. I'm Mabel, and today while everyone is reporting on all of these Supreme Court rulings, I think that there's one story that's really fallen under the radar, and that is that The Guardian just got hold of leaked documents showing that Trump's Gaza Board of Peace wants blanket immunity from any arrests or legal proceedings in courts at all.
Check this out.
Blanket immunity.
It's huge.
And even though this project has kind of seemed like it's been in limbo for a while, there hasn't been that much reporting on it. Reporting now shows that construction for this plan has already started and that all the leaders involved will be meeting at a resort in Cyprus next week. So obviously that is a lot. First, I want to break down this blanket immunity because it's pretty terrifying. So like I said, the Guardian got access to a 4-page draft resolution labeled sensitive but unclassified and found—
So they doing like the corporations when they create these all this crazy items, or when you say, how you want to call it, merchandise, knowing that it's going to do something to the people, so they automatically get themselves, I can't think of a legal term for it, but they get themselves disconnected from where you can't sue them. And so right here, this board of peace and these Israelis already setting themselves up where they can't be judged on it. Check it out.
That the Board of Peace is preemptively, before it's literally even done anything, giving itself immunity from any crime.
They already setting it where they being immune to it, where you can't do, the population can't do nothing to them. So evidently that let me know all hell finna break loose.
Or legal troubles that might come up during this reconstruction process. It's giving this protection to the board in totality, but also the Office of the High Representative, Palestinian technocrats that are working under the Board of Peace, and what really disturbed me, international military forces and all outside contractors operating in Gaza also get this protection. And that's not all. The draft also says that the Board of Peace should be provided public buildings and facilities in Gaza, quote, free of charge to carry out its mission. Like, anything that belongs to Gaza is now belonging to people of this board. You can live here.
Okay, so one thing I'm not gonna stop anymore. Now the million soldiers make sense. This is where the overkill come in at. Because what they're doing, they're bringing all these troops for a whole nother reason. Check it out.
You can stay here as long as it's, part of this reconstruction effort. And that's kind of wild to me, since the concept of land rights is kind of the basis of this whole Israel-Palestine issue in the first place. So just having this vague language that's like, oh, any and all property can just belong to this board, I think is extremely problematic. But before we get into all of this new information, because there is a lot of new information, I'm going to give you a quick refresher on what this Board of Peace is. So remember, the idea of this was to create an international body that would oversee Gaza's reconstruction after the war. Trump created this basically out of thin air earlier this year. He is obviously the chair, and his allies like son-in-law Jared Kushner, Marco Rubio, Steve Witkoff, and all of these other guys are on the board. And what's happening is that these guys are essentially running a project that's relocating 2 million Palestinians so that they can basically develop the area into a high-tech business and tourism hub. Jared Kushner has even described it as an AI smart city. And these plans aren't kept in secret. They're in PowerPoints that are being shown to everyone as they're trying to collect funding. It's in decks and contracts. Like, this has been verified. And beyond just these construction plans, it almost seems like this Board of Peace is trying to kind of be like a pseudo-UN. They've said that they want to bring peace around the world to other countries and end other conflicts as well, and expand beyond Gaza in the future. And if you're a country that wants to get involved in this, you have to pay the board $1 billion every 3 years. So that is basically the fee to enter. And when this was first announced, so many countries were pledging their support, saying that they wanted to be a part of this, probably to get into Trump's good graces. So from that, you would think, oh wow, this Board of Peace is probably loaded. They probably have billions of dollars, so much money to do what they want to do. But funnily enough, Ren and I reported like a month ago that the Board of Peace Bank was completely empty and had literally $0 in their coffers. So yeah, that was problematic and embarrassing. Trump was super pissed when all of that reporting came out. And so from everything I've said, you're probably thinking, Mabel, this all sounds so hypothetical, what you're saying. They keep releasing all of these plans, this immunity thing, but they don't have any money. So why are we worrying about this? Like, it probably won't even happen. And I would say, yeah, that's a really good point. Makes a lot of sense, except for the fact that according to Israel Hayom, which is an Israeli publication, is reporting that U.S. military has already begun building a huge base on the Gaza Strip border in coordination with Israel. So this base that's being built now is supposed to serve as a military and civilian headquarters for people that'll basically come to the area. And there's already plans to build like a huge control tower. People are saying that this is becoming a reality. And 5 countries have already agreed to send military forces to this area. So that's Indonesia, Morocco, Kazakhstan, Kosovo, and Albania. And then Bangladesh, Pakistan, and Azerbaijan have also expressed interest in sending troops to the area, but they're a little less committed just because of this US-Iran war, and that's really affecting them. And I want to share another piece of information with you guys that I came across while reading about this, because I think it shows that even though the Board of Peace is acting like this neutral third-party mediator, it's clear where its alliances truly lie, because even though the US and Israel need these countries to supply troops, it's what's going to enforce these policies, Israel is still picky about which countries get to help. So they've actually refused to allow soldiers from, quote, hostile countries like Pakistan and Turkey to arrive in the area. And I just thought that was interesting because, again, the Board of Peace is not supposed to be pro-Israel. It's supposed to be UN adjacent. But obviously, Israel is calling the shots. We know that Netanyahu is very, very close with Trump. And I just thought that this small detail shows how ingrained Israel is in this entire Board of Peace process. And I thought that was interesting. But yeah, after reading about this underreported construction, that's kind of when I realized that this isn't just a crazy proposal sitting on someone's desk. They're actually starting to build, which is what makes this immunity clause so much scarier and all the more real. And I don't even know how to begin dissecting how problematic this clause is, but as we all know, Gaza is one of the most troubled, war-torn regions in the entire world. So many massive atrocities have been committed there. And now this controversial board that Trump just made up a couple months ago is taking over a region that he has no business being.
Greater Israel coming into existence, and they started finagling with it, fumbling with it.
And not only that, but he is converting this region into a Middle Eastern Mar-a-Lago and is saying, oh, our people in charge, our military, and anyone related to this project won't be subject to any legal trouble no matter what they do. And according to this draft, Trump himself, as the board's chair, has the ultimate power to enforce this legal immunity. So Trump has all the power. I also think it's pretty weird that these plans are moving forward, even though the ceasefire that the Trump administration put together last fall is shaky at best. Hamas still hasn't given up its weapons, which was a prerequisite for moving into phase 2, which is the reconstruction phase of this ceasefire. Israeli troops are still in the region. They've actually expanded their presence from 50% to 60%. And on top of that, Israeli forces have killed 1,000 Palestinians in Gaza since this peace deal has started. I mean, they've even killed some people this past weekend. So how is that a working ceasefire? I don't know, but it does seem like this tricky fake ceasefire is going to be the starting point for this Board of Peace that, like I said, we already know skews favorably towards Israeli interests. Moving on to what experts think. Because of all of these conflicts of interest and dangerous ambiguity, experts and lawyers in international humanitarian law are starting to speak out and warn the world. They're saying that this situation would actually make it impossible for citizens to seek out any kind of accountability. For example, what if contractors or military cause property damage or injuries or kill someone in this construction or in a skirmish? This board is basically creating its own legal system and pretty much absolving itself from any incident that could come up. And as inappropriate and insane as this all sounds, it is really easy to understand why Trump and his board decided to write this draft up. You just have to look at what Trump has been doing here in the US. Trump has fought for more executive control than any president in US history, and he has successfully protected himself and so many of his own officials from legal action. We also see him constantly battling with courts in the US who are trying to stop or kind of slow down his plans, and we see that really bother him and get under his skin. And I think now he's anticipating that all of these issues would kind of come up when it comes to redeveloping Gaza. And he's like, well, here's a way around this. Before a legal framework is created, this idea is so new, there's no infrastructure around it. Before anything is created, let's just make it ourselves and put ourselves in charge of this. Now, it's important to mention that the Board of Peace disputes a lot of this reporting. In a statement to The Guardian, officials said, quote, "There's no operative resolution or immunity framework like the one described." So even though The Guardian says that they have this draft resolution, that they've read all of these things, the Board of Peace is denying all of this. And I don't know, I mean, to be fair, I know that international organizations and peacekeeping missions do receive legal protections to some extent, and it's basically so that officials have authority to operate, across different jurisdictions and countries and territories. They need that protection to get their jobs done. But after seeing this draft, legal experts have told The Guardian that this proposal goes so much further than anything that they've seen or could expect because of how it also covers contractors and military personnel from being in trouble at all. As for what is happening next, members of the Board of Peace are expected to meet at a resort in Cyprus next week to discuss this project and next steps. So we'll definitely get a lot more details about all of this then and in the following weeks. But I think to kind of wrap, if history has taught us anything, I think we can just look at recent US-led reconstruction efforts in Iraq and Afghanistan to be warned of how to handle this and how this is wrong. I mean, reconstruction there was plagued with civilian deaths and so many abuses by American contractors. There's so many stories of corruption that have come out of there. And this whole situation would be so much worse because the board is already saying that there's going to be no external oversight at all. A quote from a human rights lawyer said, quote, "Far from signaling an end to genocide, apartheid, and occupation, this document suggests entrenching some of its ugliest signature characteristics. This risks not only complicity, but direct perpetration of grave abuses." And what's crazy is that it seems like in this new world order that we're seeing emerge, powerful figures can kind of just take power for themselves whenever they want. This board was made up out of nowhere to basically take over and take control of an entire region. And somehow it's become a reality out of just being something in Trump's mind. The UN has even authorized them to oversee everything until December 2027. And so what is so concerning to me about all of this is that we're seeing this pattern of power being taken despite courts, despite law, despite international organizations, and despite what we the people want. And I think now we're really seeing that these forces will go to any lengths to preserve and expand that power. Thanks everyone for tuning into another episode.
Okay, you got anything on that? What you think?
Shalom, Berlina. I agree with what she was saying in the video as far as well, what she said at the end. They'll do anything to keep that power. Like you saying that they're escalating what they're doing before the elections, and
Exactly.
you see that over there in the Middle East, and you see it over here too. Everything's escalating, and then one thing too, Berlina. I remember when, like she said, Trump has done the most with the executive orders.
Right.
And yeah, because I remember when he was doing that last year, like saying like he took away like the police having basically where they can't get in trouble for their actions. Like she was saying, he did that for the military and for like the local police.
Right. Yeah. So I wanted to shine a light on something right quick about if you go back to Ezekiel. I talked about this Deuteronomy. Jacob, you got Jacob and Esau, and the Most High said, "Jacob I love, Esau I hate." Okay, and we know the whore in these last days, Esau became and transformed himself, and he's taken our identity. He's posing as Israel, but he's actually the whore that's riding on the beast. So we see that in Ezekiel, just like the curses on Israel in Deuteronomy, we see the curses. Got the curses on Esau in Ezekiel 35. And so my point is, when you look at that, which is biblical, and then you have to deal with history also. When you go to history, you'll see all through Europe, these people were out here, these Edomites, because of their character and they tenacity and their wickedness, they was kicked out of one country to the next, like I was saying, till eventually they ended up in Spain and Portugal. That was them that got kicked out of our land in 70 AD because of their wickedness. And so they was given safe passage to Spain and Portugal, right? Okay, and then from there they ended up in America. So the thing about what you have to understand is they realize that people already know who they are. And when they see them, they don't want to deal with them. So what they've done is they got this blueprint where they'll create this figure, which could be a dumbass, but they'll pour all this, blow them up, and then the whole world looking at that figure, but that figure ain't making no decisions. They making all the decisions behind the scenes. And my example is the first one was Hitler. He couldn't. There's no way a man can come up and get the position and right in front of all people's faces by itself like that. So with these people have perfected that. They bring these figures up. They controlling the figure. He doing all this shit, but they doing it. But now they not out in the open where people gonna hate them. They pouring all the backlash and all that is being poured on this figure. Like I said, for example, look at the day. How much they hate Hitler. But these Edomites are behind Hitler. They put him out there in the front. And you say, what you talking about? Well, they did the same shit with Napoleon. They steady furthering their agenda, but they got this blueprint where they build up this person and bring him up on the scene. You got the whole world thinking this person making all these moves. When there's a whole group of people behind him that's behind it. Like I said, with Hitler, we know all these big ass rich companies back in the day that still exist today. Oppenheimer, DuPont, all these companies was behind Hitler. They funded the money, and that haven't changed. Same with the transatlantic slave trade. Then they came with Obama. They built him up, and you got you thinking one thing, but they not making no decisions. They just done built this figure up, and it got you thinking that they got this certain amount of power, but they have no power. They got, like the man was saying, how they got them so tied up and brainwashed, and the Manchurian candidates and blackmail and all. They got all kind of stuff on this person where they can't do nothing but what they tell them, and that's what we're looking at now with Trump. Like I said, this dude is an idiot, and then he look how he look, and he you know, they done built this figure up, and the thing about Trump is they done perfected that from back in the day, dealing with Hitler and Napoleon and all that. They perfected that template. He ain't not making all. When you listen to this conversation that the female just had, he not doing all that. It's these Edomites behind the scene, this harlot from ancient times is manipulating all that. And like I said, they in the process of these Zionists in the process of running the coup on the whole world. So when they run this coup on America, they run the coup on the whole world, because America is the number one power in the world. So they running the coup on America, and when they do that, that's what brings in, usher in Pax Judea. That's what we're looking at. You see, everybody hollering about Trump. It's not Trump. He sits on the ball. And another example is JC. Same template. They created this character, blowed him up, and like everybody fumbling with that, but he's not behind it. These same people that created, that manufactured Hitler, manufactured Napoleon, manufactured this clown right now, Trump, Obama, and manufactured JC. And if you don't understand that, you're just falling backwards in the dark. Okay? You got any, I figured I had to say that. You got anything on that?
Oh, no, sir. Shalom.
Okay, yeah. So you have to understand that. So this guy is, like I said, Trump. He tits on the ball. Just get you some Kool-Aid and popcorn and just look at this dude. With everything that you see happening in the world today, all this transformation and flipping and dipping, it's not him. It's these people, these Edomites. The Most High have told us about it, about them. The whole world know about them. Okay, and like another example was, she said it's board of peace, but before they even get started, they're getting all these laws for immunity. Well, they did the same thing over there in Israel. They already know, the world know they wicked as hell, But look what they got. They got all these laws around them that you can't deal with them like you're supposed to deal with them. They already set the stage that you can't deal with them like that. That's how these people operate. And it's only one. The only thing gonna be able to deal with them is got to come from heaven. That's what's gonna shut this down. Because they got the whole world duped. And even when proper information come out, then you being looked at as a nut bucket. When you simply trying to lay the groundwork or lay the understanding on what's happening. But they didn't create these facades where the truth is downgraded. Okay. So with that being said, okay, what I'm gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and send a link out. We're gonna send a link out for the people that I'm gonna have a little Q&A in a minute. But right now I'm gonna pick we're gonna pick a scripture and we're gonna break that scripture down, and then we'll go into Q&A, and we'll close out. You got a scripture you want to shine a light on?
Yes, sir. Shalom. Brother Leonard, I'm going to read Zechariah 12, verses 7 and 8.
Okay.
And yes, sir. And it says, "And the Lord shall save the tents of Judah first, that the glory of the house of David and the glory of the inhabitants of Jerusalem do not magnify themselves against Judah in the day that the Lord defend the inhabitants of Jerusalem. And he that is feeble among them at that day shall be as David, and the house of David shall be as God, as the angel of the Lord before them." And shalom. That was Zechariah chapter 12, verses 7 and 8.
So what's your take on that?
Brother Leonard, that this is I think this talk about Ezekiel 37, right? After the resurrection of the house of Israel, that I mean they gonna be like kind of have the abilities of angels, right?
Exactly right. Well, they've been promised that. Our forefathers was promised that they was going to judge angels, and that they was going to be like the Most High, right?
Right.
So my thing is this: when you first start reading it, it says that he's going to save the tents of Judah first, right?
Yes, sir.
What the tents of Judah is right now? In captivity, right?
Right. Scattered.
So that's what we're looking at. The tents of Judah got to be saved right now. We're dealing with a race of people that captured our identity, and they posing as Israelites. Right. So the Creator, like I said, our Redeemer that's on the right hand side of the Father, which is Lord of Hosts, he has to come and he has to bring about. He got to cast off everything that we see these people trying to do right now. He got to come and say that it's nobody else can do it. Like I can keep saying, he got to come and save Israel. And in order to do that, he's going to save the tents of Judah first. You got to resurrect our forefathers, just like the Tanak tell us. And that's what we in the process of doing.
Right.
Right?
Right. Sure.
Okay.
And then, Brother Leonard, just to highlight where it says too, in the house of David shall be as God, as the angel of the Lord before them. So
right.
That's alluding to that the angel of the Lord is God to David, or God to Israel, right?
Right. Well, he's Israel's God.
Right.
Right. So he promised them that in the last days he's gonna resurrect them and they're gonna be like him. Well, we read a psalm a couple of weeks ago where David said that he was cool with everything that the Lord of hosts was doing, and he's gonna go to his rest, and he's gonna awake in his likeness. Right?
Right, yes, sir.
That's what he's talking about. Ain't no other way to interpret that.
Right.
And JC ain't in there.
Nowhere.
Right.
Right. Yeah, that's Psalm 17. If I remember. Yes, sir. Shalom.
You gonna read that? I think it's the last verse.
Right, yes, sir. Yes, sir. It said, as for me, I will behold thy face in righteousness. I shall be satisfied when I awake with thy likeness.
Right. So he gonna sleep, go to sleep. When he passed away, then he's gonna be resurrected in Ezekiel 37, and he's gonna be like Yahweh.
Mm.
And then we see the same thing in Daniel with Daniel. He says, "Go thy way until I rest and sleep, and you're gonna stand up in the latter days in your lot."
Right.
Same thing. None of that had nothing to do with JC. They already knew that before they even concocted JC.
Sure.
Okay. So you good.
Yes, sir. I'm good. Shalom.
Okay. So what we're gonna do is we'll open it up now for some Q&A. Anybody got any questions, comments, any dialogue, testimonies? We're gonna now is the time.
Shalom, everyone. Brother Leonard, Psalms 89 was read earlier today in Sabbath class. And I have a question. Yes, sir. On verses 17 through 20. And they read, "For thou art the glory of their strength, and in thy favor our horn shall be exalted. For the Lord is our defense, and the Holy One of Israel is our King." Verse 19. Then thou spakest in a vision to thy Holy One, and saidst, I have laid help upon one that is mighty. I have exalted one chosen out of the people. I have found David my servant, with my holy oil have I anointed him. And that was Psalms 89, 17 through 20. My question comes from some of the wording. So in verse 18 it says, "For the Lord is our defense, and the Holy One of Israel is our King." And then verse 19 says, "Then thou spakest in vision to thy Holy One." But then this time, Holy One is lowercase, and says, I have laid upon one that is mighty. I have exalted one chosen out of the people. And then verse 20 goes on to say, I have found David my servant. So my question is the Holy One of Israel is our King in verse 18. Is that Michael? And then is Michael speaking to his Holy One, Samuel, saying, I found David?
No. The Holy One, the lowercase Holy One is David. The holy means, Messiah means oil. He's been anointed with oil. So he got David. He got Samuel to put oil, fill the horn with oil, and he went and anointed David. So David is the lowercase Holy One.
Okay.
Right. And then he tells you point blank who the Messiah is. He tells you he found David. He's not, like I said, he's not schizophrenic. He's gonna say David, but he means Jesus. He's telling you point blank who it is. He got a name. His name David. He said, I found David with my holy oil, and I anointed him. I had him anointed in 1 Samuel, chapter 16, verse 1.
Okay,
you can't
thank
get
you.
around that. Yeah. Okay.
Brother Leonard, I had, I guess maybe 3 comments on just today's class, nothing from earlier this week. It was mentioned that Israel's in a pickle and the split between the White House administration with the ceasefire. And from what I was seeing is like this is a planned event, and you've been talking about that because Marco Rubio and JD Vance are going against each other with the ceasefire and being against or for what Trump is doing. But from what I notice, when anybody does something outside of what Trump would like to happen, they're no longer in office, whether they get another position or we just don't see them anymore. And it goes along with the clip you played yesterday during the men's advanced Bible study. I had never heard that, but where Tucker Carlson just demeaned and shot down and dragged Trump through the dirt, but then seconds later uplifted JD Vance. It just really seems like they plan to get JD Vance, whether it's in the office of president or some leader in the USA under the Jewish leader Netanyahu, but it doesn't seem like Trump is bothered by any of it. He really seems like he's just going along with the plan to get JD Vance in next.
Right. Yeah, like I said, these people already know what their roles are, and they know what they role is in it, and when they're gonna get escorted out and all that. Like for example, look, two cases is they behind the scenes, these puppet masters, they blowed up Hitler, but Hitler got to a certain point where he got so conceited with the power they had generated for him, he went against them. That's why they had to bring in all these other countries, and they had to get rid of him and kill him. Same thing happened with Napoleon. They made Napoleon who he was. And they used this, they build this figure up, and then everything they want to do, they doing it behind this figure, but the figure ain't doing shit. They just blowed him up. So Hitler got the same way. He got Napoleon. So they had to get rid of him. They had to bring in all these different armies, and they pinned him down at Waterloo and killed him. Same thing with that's what's happening with Trump. They know what they role is and when their role will come to an end. So when you look at Marco Rubio and you look at JD Vance, they knowing that there's a power vacuum finna happen. Trump finna go away. They vibing for that position. That's where the drama coming. That's where why else would him and Marco Rubio have issues with each other? Because they know what's finna happen. All this, what they done pumped up on Trump, it's gonna go away. They're gonna do something with him. And that's what Tucker doing. Like I said, look at what Trump done. Out of all the people in the world, he the one came out talking about Obama's citizenship, birthright citizenship. Out of all the people in the world, what would he even get that from to attack Obama's citizenship? They sent him because they were setting him up. They in the process start building him up, and we see that they all these so-called politicians understand that. So they see, especially JD Vance and Marco Rubio, they know something finna go down, and they vibing for that power that vacuum that's gonna happen. That's what this all about. All that up there, all that's going on up there ain't nothing but Hollywood. Like I said, Lyndon B. Johnson knew what was going to happen to Kennedy. They already put him in a position from the beginning. They already knew what they was going to do with Kennedy. Like I said, he was the man all along. He wasn't JFK. They got JFK because he was charismatic. But the man that did what they wanted, the dirty work, was Lyndon B. Johnson. And now they're doing the same thing with Trump.
Yes, sir.
That's how it works.
And Brother Leonard, I was listening to the two of you brothers talking about the mass fatalities in Lebanon and Gaza. And just this week, I had heard that the Israeli bombs on Gaza, as of this week, was equal to 16 times the nuclear attacks on Hiroshima and Nagasaki in 1945. And until just this class today, I thought, well, what would be the use of that? And then you played some clips about the Board of Peace and about building Gaza up. And I thought, oh, so they have all these Hiroshima type bombs. 16 times the amount of devastation of those nuclear bombs have been put on the little strip of Gaza. And I feel like the war with the Strait of Hormuz closure was all a distraction, because just like you said, in the background, they were clearing out land and building stuff up. Yeah. And I completely forgot that there was a Board of Peace that our president was even over. So again, exactly. Meanwhile, they hate each other, but they're still using the Board of Peace to build up Gaza. Right. And we're none the wiser, because what's in our face right now and what's overwhelming all people all over the world is not the mass fatalities in Gaza. It's the fact that we don't have gas. So right. Nobody even cares about what's happening in Gaza. I'm laughing because when we read like the book of Jasher, we find out that unfortunately, concentration camps, mass fatalities, slavery, all this other stuff is very American. It's very Jewish. This is their natural, habitual acts that they always do. And like you said, it's just, there's something else going on, and suddenly we just notice this other thing. And the clips you played today just made sense of why earlier this week so much devastation would be done to this little strip of land called Gaza, because they want to clear all of that out and do what they want to do with it. And here we are, there's no news for it, because all the people in Palestine don't even have internet and phones to use. They're too busy trying to get to safety. We have no news from Gaza anymore now.
Right. They pros at that. They know how to control it. They did what they had to do, wiping Gaza out. Then they just come with another news cycle, take everybody away from what's going on, because of when the news cycle was on Gaza and what they was doing in Gaza, people was ready to go over there, and the citizens in America was ready to go over there and do something to the Israeli. They ratings that went down, and people hate them to this very day. So, cause they control the news cycle, they came up with something else, like what's going on in the Strait of Hormuz. They accomplished what they wanted. They did what they had to do, wipe it out, and then they just changed the news cycle. They come up with some horrific event and change the news cycle. And while you dealing with what they just done, now they they rebuild it. That's how they make money. Look what Hitler tore up. Hitler tore up all of Europe. Okay, look at the billions of dollars, trillions of dollars they made on reconstruction. That's how they work. Okay, what Cheney and Bush done what Cheney and Bush did over with Saddam Hussein.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. That gentleman Yang, I think his name is Professor Yang. The clip you play, he made a comment about Christians' beliefs, and JC sacrificing himself. And I just wanted to say this, regardless of the clip being played or not. When you take that at face value, Brother Leonard, like you say, just get out the New Testament and make sense of it, that doesn't even make sense. No parent would sacrifice themselves, aka punish or spank themselves, to free their child of wrongdoing. Like, none of that even makes sense. I'm going to take all your consequences. And then JC, we're supposed to believe, forgave everyone born before him, his lifetime, during his lifetime, after his lifetime, no matter how evil and wicked dog-like they were. Everybody's forgiven as long as they believe in him. And Brother Leonard, you read Exodus 23 and 20 and 21 a lot, but that goes against believing in the angel who's keeping Israelites in their way and that we're supposed to obey because he won't pardon sins. But here's JC later pardoning everyone before they're even born. And I thought that's just so crazy.
Right.
That's just so crazy.
It's contradicting. Don't go along with the New Testament, with the Old Testament narrative. Right. So yeah.
And my last thing was, we've talked about a coup for quite a time, and you and Brother AJ talked about it. And quite often before a government is overturned and taken over by some other people, there's some inside people helping with that. For clarification, because Trump has this thing where everybody working in his administration has to agree with him. And you've said this before, it's not just a Trump thing. He's not the person really in control. But would it be right to believe the current administration is the inside man for the Israelis to take over America, basically?
Well, they ain't no servants. The whole administration. It's not just the Trump administration. We know from way back. These people are they control. They behind the scenes. Like I was saying, when they build up a character like Hitler, but they have the people thinking that this person is got all the power, but the whole time these same people behind the scenes, they controlling everything. They've been controlling America from jump. So they got Trump elect his cabinet, but Trump and the whole cabinet being dictated by these Israelis. That's been the case up until now. It's really becoming evident now, especially with people. A lot of the wax been taking off people's eyes because a lot of people couldn't see it at first. But now that we're in the situation we're in now, and we're in the end times, you can see that they're being manipulated, and you can reflect back and see in the past they're being manipulated. That's what's been the case the whole time. All right, you got anything on that, AJ?
Shalom, bro. Leonard, just a comment. I actually had another question. I didn't have a comment on that though.
Okay.
When I was gonna ask about those 70 souls you were talking about last night, the
70 that went up on Mount Sinai?
Right, yes, sir.
Yeah.
In Jasher they name them just the so like in Jasher 1, how it says, and these are the names. I mean, this is Jasher 59, I'm sorry. And these are the names of the sons of Israel who dwelt in Egypt, who had come with Jacob, all the sons of Jacob who came onto Egypt, every man with his household. So are those 70 like the heads from all the tribes?
No. Okay. No. I think that's it's like when you understand how the Most High he got a what you call a signature,
right?
Or what they call a footprint, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we know in the very beginning he created these 7 angels, right?
Right.
He deal with 7. That's gonna make you stand when you see that 7. That's gonna make you stand up and take notice, right?
Okay, right.
So what was Enoch?
The 7th from Adam.
And then you get all the way down to the Gentiles, and Gomer had how many sons?
It had 7.
And then Esau had how many sons?
12.
Israel had, Esau had how many?
12.
12. And Israel had how many?
12. Okay.
That's footprints. That's how you know we in it. That's why I was telling you about what these people doing. Look, we know about the year of release, right? 6 years, and then the 7 years, the year of release, right?
Right.
That's what they doing. Well, we was talking about how 2000 they did something, and then in 2008, 7 years later, they brought the what they call that, the stock market crash.
Right.
So they using the Most High footprint. They trying to operate just like him. So even with the 40, how old was when the flood came? It was 40 years, 40 days and 40 nights, right?
Right.
When Jacob was Moses when he left Egypt.
Right. He was 40.
Right. He came back at 80. That's
Mm-hmm.
them footprints. And understand how how the Lord of hosts work, how the Yahweh, how heaven work. Like for example, we know because of Jubilees that they was keeping the laws before Israel became a nation.
Right.
And
So.
how you figure it out is the footprints.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. Neck, because in
Yeah.
that, and they say that too. Brother Leonard in Genesis 25, I think it's either 25 or 26, but when the Lord of hosts says that Abraham followed all his laws, commandments, and his ordinances, so he was going by something.
Right, exactly. And that's how they I mean it makes you it'll stop you in your tracks. Like I was saying with the remember what the covenant Abraham made with Amalek?
Right, okay.
And then he said, take these 7 ewe lambs and put them over here. Well, that's gonna stop you in your footsteps, right? Because you're gonna say, you see that 7, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And then we look at how most people don't pay no attention to it, but you look at where after Abraham built the well at Bathsheba, you got his descendants. They hung around that well continuously, kept coming up. That well of Bathsheba. Well, it means 7. The word Sheba means 7, which it go back to. That's where he made the covenant with Amalek with the 7 ewe lamb.
Mm-hmm.
So all that when you understand all that, it stops you in your stop you in your tracks. You know what I'm saying?
Sure. In it,
Oh, yeah.
7 days of creation, or
right.
Okay.
All that stuff, that's his footprint, and it's like he said, the sun and the moon when he first created them are for signs and wonders in heaven, right?
Exactly.
Same thing with that. Same thing with that. You know what I'm saying? Like we was talking a while back about Artaxerxes got 7 counselors.
Right.
You think that's an accident?
Right. Not at all.
It's gonna stop you in your tracks. And there's something.
Right. Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah. Let me play this little warning right here, and then we can close out. Let me see if I still got it. Okay, hold up a minute. Okay. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, here you go. Here we go. Okay.
Unequipped militarily right now to seize control of the strait. Very few people have looked at the geography. It is extremely tough, very difficult to deal with. But beyond that, Iran has...
So he's telling you to start preparing now. When you start looking at everything that's going on around us, says start preparing.
Mastered something that we saw emerge in eastern Ukraine. We watched the Russians demonstrate it, but we don't seem to have paid any attention to it. If we don't get this strait open, we could slide into a global depression. Correct. He is absolutely right. And we have been emptying our own strategic petroleum reserve, pouring it into other countries as well as into our own, and try to keep the price of oil low. We're about to run out of that flexibility over the next few weeks. And there is a way to solve this. It's a military solution. Leave.
Yeah.
Out. And the sooner we get out, the better, because the longer we're there, the more likely we are to be dragged back in. And that could result in catastrophe.
The Memorandum of Understanding was signed on June 17th. Trump posted on Truth Social telling ships across the world to start their engines. 9 days later, on June 25th, Iran launched 4 drones at a UN-backed evacuation vessel in the Strait. US Central Command launched retaliatory strikes on Iranian military targets in response. The Strait of Hormuz is still not open. That's the situation Douglas McGregor walks through in this interview, and he gets to the root of it methodically. He served as senior advisor to the Secretary of Defense in Trump's first term. What he covers here goes in sequence. Why the military option for seizing the strait was never viable, who inside the administration pushed the country into war in the first place, and what the only path out of this actually requires. His conclusion has not changed since before the strikes began on February 28th. Washington needs to leave. Also, before we get into it, only a small percentage of my viewers are actually subscribed. If you enjoy geostrategy content,
that Iran has mastered something that we saw emerge in eastern Ukraine. We watched the Russians demonstrate it, but we don't seem to have paid any attention to it. And what the Iranians have done is that they have linked space-based surveillance, persistent surveillance, constant surveillance, with all the intelligence and reconnaissance platforms at their disposal to provide instantaneous targeting data to a multitude of weapon systems, mostly theater ballistic missiles, tactical ballistic missiles, all kinds of unmanned systems, anything that falls into the category of unmanned or standoff attack, to the point where anything that moves within 300, 400, 500 miles of the Iranian border is going to be picked up, monitored, tracked, and if necessarily targeted and destroyed. And he's used the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, but he cannot conceal the fact that we were defeated militarily. Can't conceal that. He cannot conceal the drawdown in the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. Now, there are ways to work around the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. What are those ways? Well, you have these shadow fleets that move oil in and out of various places, and you have alternative ways to get it out of the Gulf. You have the pipeline across Saudi Arabia that I've driven up and down, goes from east to west over to Yenbo and elsewhere to be tanked up and moved out. But all of that is very, very fragile. And you can only do so much with the alternatives to oil and gas at this point. You can't completely supplant them or replace them.
That you have, how are you thinking about gold? This economic tsunami that you're outlining, that sounds like a recipe for debasement. However, when the world becomes more unstable, there's also a good chance for gold, I suppose, to gain in relative value, not just nominal.
A good chance? You are the master of understatement. You sure you don't have any English ancestry? The British are always renowned for their understatement. But I remember when people said, oh, gold will never reach 4,000. Impossible. And then they said, oh, it'll never reach 6,000. Listen, we're going to see it hit 10,000. You know, my point is gold is going to become the currency once again of the realm. Now, is there an alternative to it? Yes, I think you're going to see something like Bitcoin that will be utilized as an alternative to the dollar for transactional reasons, as a way to create and sustain private credit. But ultimately, gold will be the coin of the realm. There's no question about it. So,
okay. So, like you said, that's exactly what they're doing. They're setting everything being, all the ducks being put in place. And matter of fact, the ducks are already in place. So like you said, you can see what they're finna do, so you should start preparing. Total chaos coming. That's in order to bring in what they want to do. And the goal is going to be what they're going to use to stabilize it. Nothing else can stabilize it. So with that being said, any comments, questions before we go? We're going to close out. Okay. Everybody good?
Shalom, yes, sir.
Okay, so with that being said, we're going to close the Shabbat out this evening at 6 o'clock. So I'll see everybody at 6 o'clock. If you got any more questions or whatever, then we'll do some Q&A at the end of the close the Sabbath out. Shalom, shalom, and another shalom.
Shalom.
I highly recommend that you get this book and you read it, because it's a must that you understand who God head is in the order that's in the Old Testament in Tanak, because it's not the same as in the New Testament. And when you read this and you get an understanding, then the scriptures open up, and then you begin to understand. So I highly recommend that you get this book. It's the Elohim of Israel, and it's a breakdown on the word Elohim and who the God of Israel is, and the Godhead.